GRIAS Academy.
100 days, 100 themes, one goal, UPSC Prelims. Hello all, welcome back to the program Mission Surya Phase 3, a STEM revision program where we deal with current affairs regarding science and technology and environment completely in the prelims perspective. So let's get started our today's session. In our today's session, we are going to see few protocols and few agreements which have done regarding the environmental issues. Okay, now let's get started with our today's session. See, the first thing is International Environmental Conventions and Protocols. International Environment Conventions and Protocols. In this, we'll see few basic concepts of it. What is convention? Convention is a formal legal binding agreement. It is a formal legal binding agreement which is negotiated among governments. It is negotiated among the governments to combat global environmental threats. Okay, it acts as a framework. It acts as a framework or platform for the cooperation of developing this environment. Okay, next, and the next concept is, what is a protocol now? What is a protocol? It is an amendment or a supplementary treaty, amendment or a supplementary treaty for a specific treaty that modifies or operationalizes a convention, which operationalizes or modifies the convention. Okay, example, Kyoto Protocol to the UNFCCC. Kyoto Protocol to the UNFCCC. Now make a note. Protocol amendments are not binding on all states. Protocol amendments are not binding on all states unless they ratify them. Unless they are ratified by the states, they are not applicable to all the states. They are not binding to all the states. Okay, next. The next concept is, we'll see the summits and protocols which have conventions which are gone through from the starting in this environmental sector. The first one is the Rio Earth Summit and its offsprings. The Rio Earth Summit and its offsprings, which is in 1992. Let's see. The United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. The United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, which is in Brazil, a place in Brazil, in 1992, for making what? Making the 20th anniversary of the 1972 Stockholm Conference. For the 20th anniversary of 1972 Stockholm Conference, the Rio Earth Summit and its offsprings 1992 has been come, which yielded the following critical documents or framework. It yielded the few outcomes. What are those outcomes? It came up with Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is a non-binding action plan for sustainable development. This is for sustainable development. Now, what is Rio? And the next one is Rio Declaration. Rio Declaration has come up with 27 principles on environment and development. Next, statement on forest principles, where non-legally binding document. It is a non-legally binding document on forest management. The summit also gave birth to 3 major legal binding Rio conventions. We'll see what are those. Those are, the first one is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. When this is adopted, it is adopted in 1992 and was enforced in 1994. It was adopted on 1992 and enforced in 1994. The secretariat of it is in Bonn, Germany. Bonn, a place in Germany. Okay, next. What is the objective of this UNFCCC? To stabilize the greenhouse gases, to stabilize the greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere, to prevent the dangerous human interference, to prevent the human dangerous interference with the climate system. This is the main objective of UNFCCC. Okay, next, what is the key fact of it? India is among the few countries, to host the Conference of Parties, COP, for all the 3 Rio Conventions. For all these 3 Rio Conventions, India is one of the top countries to host all these 3 conventions. Okay, again, next. The next is few protocols. The major protocols are in UN, under the UNFCCC. There are few major protocols we are going to see. The first one is Kyoto Protocol, which is, the Kyoto Protocol, which is adopted in the year 1997 and enforced in 2005, which is adopted in 1997 and enforced in 2005. See, it legally binds developed countries. It legally binds the developing countries, not the developing, developed countries to emission reduction targets, acknowledging their historical responsibility, like common but differential responsibilities. In the phase 1, that is from 2005 to 2012, it has been come under the 2 phases. This Kyoto Protocol has come up with 2 phases, like in phase 1 and phase 2. In phase 1, from the year 2005 to 2012, it stated 5% emission cut target. It had a target of 5% of emission cut. In phase 2, that is from 2013 to 2020, it came up with a target of 18% emission cut. This is the target of the Kyoto Protocol. Next is Marrakesh Accords 2001, which is established the detailed rules of Kyoto implementation, which established the detailed rules for Kyoto implementation. Okay, next. The next is Paris Agreement, COP21 agreement, adopted in the year 2015, which is adopted in the year 2015, okay, which is the replacement of Kyoto Protocol. This COP21 is the replacement. Paris Agreement COP21 is the replacement of the Kyoto Protocol. What is the main goal of it? Limited global temperature increase, to limit the global temperature increase to well below 2 degrees centigrade, to 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels, aiming for 1.5 degrees centigrade. This is the main goal of Paris Agreement. Next is, it is introduced by INDCS, that is intended nationally determined contributions, nationally determined contributions, which are voluntary pledges made by countries but are not legally binding. These are not legally binding, they are voluntarily pledged by the countries. Next, developed countries pledged how many? $100 billion per year, $100 billion per year to the developing nations to adopt to climate change. For adopting the climate change in the developing nations, the developed countries has contributed $100 billion per year for the climate change in developing countries. The next one is Convention on Biological Diversity. Convention on Biological Diversity. When is this adopted? It is adopted in 1992 and came into enforcement on 1993. Okay. The main objective of this is conservation of biological diversity and equitable sharing of benefit. Okay. Next, let's see a few key protocols under this CBT. CBD is Cartagena Protocol, which is amended into, which is authorized in 2000 and enforced in 2003, which focuses on biosafety and the safe handling of living modified organisms. Okay, it focuses on biosafety and the safe handling of living modified organisms. Okay, the next one is Nagoya Protocol, which is held in 2010 and came into enforcement on 2014, which focuses on access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits. fair and equitable sharing of benefits. Okay, next. The next is United Nations Convention to combat desertification. United Nations Convention to combat desertification, which is adopted in the year 1994 and enforced in the year 1996. Okay, the main objective of this is to combat desertification and mitigate the desertification and mitigate the effects of drought. Okay, it is the sole legally binding international agreement. It is a sole legally binding international agreement. Okay, linking environment and development to sustainable land management. Okay, next. The next one is protection of the ozone layer. Protection of ozone layer. In this, based on this protection of ozone layer, we have come through few things. The first convention is Vienna Convention. The first convention is Vienna Convention, which is adopted in the year 1985 and came into enforcement in 1988. Okay, what is this? This is a framework convention for the protection of the ozone layer, which does not include legal binding reduction goals. It does not include any legal binding reduction goals. Next is the Montreal Protocol, which is adopted in 1987 and came into force on 1989. Okay, this protocol is under the Vienna Convention. Okay, and it is aimed at phasing out ozone depleting substances, like chlorofluorocarbons. The main destructing agent for the ozone layer is the chlorofluorocarbons, which are basically emitted from the vehicles, this ACs, refrigerators and all. Okay, it is one of the most highly successful environmental treaties in history. This is one of the most successful environmental treaties in the history. Okay, the next one is Kigali Amendment 2016, which is enforced on 2019, which came into enforcement on 2019. It is an amendment to the Montreal Protocol. The amendment for Montreal Protocol is Kigali Amendment. Okay, for what? To phase down the hydrofluorocarbons, which are not the ozone depleting substances. These hydrofluorocarbons are not the ODs. Okay, but they are potent greenhouse gases. These are the potent greenhouse gases which is affecting the global environment. Okay, next. The next one is conservation of flora, fauna and wetlands. What is this? Based on the conservation of this flora, fauna and wetlands, there are many conventions has come up. One of the thing is Ramsar Convention. This Ramsar Convention is adopted in the year 1971 and came into force in the year 1975. Many of us know, right, this Ramsar Convention sites and all in India. Like that, it is signed in Ramsar, which is in Iran. Why it got the name? Because firstly it is signed in the Ramsar, a place in Iran. Okay, an international treaty for the conservation of wise use of wetlands. For specifically wetlands, we have Ramsar Convention sites. Okay, next is CITES, which is adopted in the year 1963 and came into enforcement on 1975. What is it? It is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. International trade on endangered species of wild fauna and flora. Okay, this ensures that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. Okay, this is about CITES. Next is Bonn Convention. Bonn Convention is adopted in the year 1979 and which came into force on enforcement in 1983. Okay, what is this? This convention is on the conservation of migratory species of wild animals. Okay, migratory species of wild animals. This is what about the conservation of flora, fauna and wetlands. These three are about this. Okay. So our next topic is hazardous chemicals and waste management. Hazardous chemicals and waste management, which is, remember the Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm trio for prelims. Basically remember these three for prelims when they can ask for hazardous chemicals and waste management sector. Okay, let's see one by one. First one is the Basel Convention. The Basel Convention, which is enforced, which has came on 1989, which is adopted on 1989 and came into enforcement on 1992. What is this Basel Convention is? It controls the transboundary movements. It controls the transboundary movements of hazardous wastes and their disposals. They controls the transboundary movements of hazardous wastes and their disposals. Now, next is, what is Rotterdam Convention then? When is this Rotterdam Convention adopted? It is adopted on 1998 and which came into enforcement in 2004. Okay, what does it do? This Rotterdam Convention, which promotes shared responsibilities via the prior informed consent, through what? Through the prior informed consent procedure for certain hazardous chemicals and pesticides in international trade. In international trade of these pesticides and certain chemical hazardous chemicals, few prior informed consent is required for the international trade between the countries. Okay, that is what this Rotterdam Convention stated. Okay, next is Stockholm Convention. Stockholm Convention, which is adopted in 2001 and came into force in 2004. Which aims what? It aims to eliminate or restrict the production and use of persistent organic pollutants. It eliminates or restrict the production and use of persistent organic pollutants by what convention? Stockholm Convention. Okay, next is Minamata Convention. Minamata Convention, which is adopted in 2013 but it came into enforcement on 2017. What is it? It intended to protect human health, and the environment from the adverse effects of mercury. To protect the human health and the environment from the adverse effects of the mercury, this Minamata Convention has come up in 2013 and enforced in 2017. Okay, these are few conventions on hazardous chemicals and waste management. Next, there are few other initiatives also. What are they? We'll see. UNRED, which is created in 2008. What is it? It is United Nations Programme on reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. Okay. Now, we will see few quick prelim tips. Okay. So, first is watch the years. Okay. From which year it has been adopted and which year it has got enforced. You can see few things previously what we have come up. Basically, one convention, if we take Rotterdam Convention and all, the adoption date and enforcement date is different, year is different. So, have a clear picture of it, have an idea of the years first. Then see the parent versus the protocol. What is the parent and what is the protocols in it? Okay, what is the parent initiative and the protocols in it? Remember, like example we can say Katrenga, which is CBD, which is comes under the protocol of CBD, and Kyoto, which comes under the protocol of UNFCCC. Kyoto protocol comes under UNFCCC, whereas Montreal protocol, which comes under the Vienna Convention. Okay. Have a look of this. Next is binding nature. What is the binding nature? Like what is the legal binding? What are these example like Kyoto targets, and what is this voluntary, which are anything binded to the legal frameworks or not? Have a look on it. Okay. Next, see pollutant focuses, and also focus mainly on pollutant focuses. For example, I can say the recent, we have seen the previous slide, like Minamata convention which is there to protect the humans and environment from the mercury these things. Okay, like that you have to see this weights as for Basel Convention, POPs for Stockholm Convention, Mimanta for mercury, and chemicals for Rotterdam Convention. You have to have a look on these. Mainly this is very much helpful for the prelims in environment. Basically we have the direct questions from the environment and the statement based questions. So make a note on the years and the amended years and the enforced years mainly. Okay, and see the protocols and see the conventions, the parent body and the protocols beneath it, and what is the binding nature, what is which is legally binded or not legally binded, or what you say which is a private framework or so. You have to make a note of it. Okay, next, done. So these are the topics for today. Yesterday we have seen few environmental protection acts and all. In today's session we have seen few protocols regarding this and few initiatives which are taken up by the government of India and all. These are all the topics regarding the climate change and environmental and protection, these things. Okay, in environment completely. Okay, so I hope everyone liked this session. For having a complete content on it, note on it, please visit our website where you find the document. You can download it from there. And however, please like, share, subscribe our YouTube channel, and do like and follow our Telegram and Instagram channel for your UPSC preparations. I'll see you all tomorrow with another informative video about the current affairs of science and technology and environment. Thank you.